World news. It's something that I can't ever keep up with. There are just about 1,000,001 things going on every single day throughout the world. So, I can't know everything all at once. Wish I could, but I just don't have that Jimmy Neutron brain. But, one of the things that is going on is that Tencent, they have quite a bit of investments in video game companies in America. And some in America do feel that this is actually a bit of a problem. It could pose some sort of a national security risk. So the US might actually, and this is all a rumor right now according to some sources, but it sounds like the US might be considering actually making it so that Tencent cannot invest in these American companies anymore. If true, they would actually have to divest all of their investments in these American video game companies, which would be quite big. So yeah, this is all surrounding Tencent. If you didn't know, they are a gigantic Chinese company. They basically invest a ton in technology in China and really throughout the entire world. They are huge. And one of their big investment routes that they have been taking recently is video games. They've been investing a lot in that. And specifically in America, that does include quite a bit of video game companies. This includes like the big one, Epic Games, and they actually also own, they don't just have an investment in it, they own Riot Games. That's pretty big. Yeah, you ever hear of a small indie game that not a lot of people have heard about called League of Legends? Or how about Valorant? Yeah, very big. So yeah, they actually own Riot Games and a few others, and they have investments in a ton of other game companies. So yeah, you get the gist. Tencent, they have quite a bit of investment here. The problem for a national security standpoint, though, is that this could kind of complicate things. This is another country that essentially owns a lot of stuff in America. There could be security concerns about data collection. Could be talks about foreign influence, how is this going to affect that sort of thing. And then, of course, there's always just a strategic economic competition with China. So what I'm getting at is that it sounds like the Trump administration, according to sources, is actually going to be considering forcing Tencent to basically, divest in these American video game companies. Now, this all comes not even a day ago from the Financial Times right here. I do have it linked in the description, and definitely check it out, but there is a paywall, so I am looking at this Video Games Chronicle article that talks about it right here. Apparently, a quote directly from the article is that they are, quote, debating whether to allow Tencent to keep its game company investments. So yes, very big stuff. The Financial Times is apparently claiming that US officials have held meetings to decide whether Tencent's investments in US gaming firms pose a security risk. Now, it says, according to the Financial Times, cabinet officials planned to discuss the matter this week, but postponed the meeting due to scheduling issues. It says, This is kind of funny how they word this. President Donald, I've never heard anybody call him that before. President Donald is due to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping next month. And this is something that Tencent has been negotiating, it looks like, with the US for quite some time. It says, according to one source, last summer, Tencent was even negotiating measures with the Committee on Foreign Investment in the US to mitigate Washington's security concerns. Yeah, basically, essentially, it sounds like Tencent, they tried to make the argument that, no, this is not going to be against any kind of, US security interest, it's not going to pose any kind of threat. So please allow us to keep making this investment. But it sounds like this is going to really be discussed now amongst US officials. It sounds like it was supposed to happen this week, but it might be kind of delayed a bit. And with Donald Trump meeting Xi Jinping next month in April, it could be something that actually is discussed with him, could be one of the topics that is brought up. I want to point out too, it does sound like this is a bit of a bipartisan response or feeling that Americans do have, or at least American officials. This overall caution for allowing Tencent to have all of these investments in American companies. It says Tencent's investment in gaming firms has long been questioned by the US as a potential security risk due to the amount of data the companies collect on US players. So then it has a quote from Chris McGuire, who is a former official in Joe Biden's administration who dealt with security issues. He said these platforms could serve as a significant intelligence collection source. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. It does sound like at least the overall concern is bipartisan. We will see how this is actually discussed amongst US officials and really how they handle it. If Tencent is no longer allowed to have investments in these huge video game companies in America, it could be very big.